Hello, and welcome to this edition of Claravine Quickvines, where we will be diving into the world of data design. Feel free to use the Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom if any questions are popping up. And as we're jumping into this, you might be asking yourself, how sexy can data design be? Well, we're going to tell you. Today, we brought in academic scholar and Claravine expert Paul Nasenbeny. Paul has a master's of library information science and is a regular guest speaker at the University of Washington for their Master's of Information Science program. Currently the Director of Solutions Architecture here at Claravine. If you're a customer or soon-to-be customer, you typically interact with Paul and his team of data scientists when designing your custom Claravine solution. Today's presentation will explain the benefits of well-designed data, highlight some of the common issues, outline how to take stock and implement good data design, and show how Claravine can help with simplifying and upgrading your approach. Without further ado, here's Paul.
Thank you, Cam. Appreciate it. Your time is very valuable, so thank you for spending the next 20 minutes with me. Obviously, we won't cover all of data design in only 20 minutes, but I hope to give you a few useful principles and tactics today. So, why is good data design important? Because it has a big impact on your bottom line. It saves you time and money by reducing mistakes, and it reduces the time that you spend cleaning the data to make it usable. And as you move the data around internal teams, agencies, ad platforms, analytics teams, it'll give you confidence that your data is still intact. And the killer feature really is reducing the unattributed ad spend that just seems to go to the void. So why is it so hard to have good, solid data in our industry? And it's because it's not just designing the ideal set of data that you want to collect in isolation or in a vacuum. It's the whole set of people, workflows, platforms that tend to make it complicated. And your particular process probably includes different business units, regions, different channels or platform teams, agencies, third-party vendors, and likely more than one analytics team along the way. And every player here has something different that they want and sometimes conflicting set of requirements that they want for the data that they want to collect. So you're always playing a game of handoff and just kind of hoping for the best amongst all these folks. It can be pretty chaotic, and that results in some common issues that we see here at Claravine with the data. Mistakes resulting from fragile Excel files that are used as tracking sheets, manual errors when creating naming conventions, inconsistent or wrong tracking codes created by different teams, CIDs, asset IDs, or wrong macros. And the worst one to me really is the siloing of data, where different teams collect sort of wildly different data, and that stops you from understanding your cross-channel performance at a higher level. So what can I do? Well, there's 4 rules of thumb to data design. First one, minimize redundancy. What fields are we collecting and why? We need to stop collecting the same data in multiple areas. And this in sort of database 101 is called normalization. Second one, ensure completeness. What key data that we want is frequently wrong or just missing. Standardize. Are we collecting different data by region, group, or business unit? What are those groups' requirements, and understand their reasoning? And then ask, do we really collectively need all this variation amongst teams? Can we simplify it? And then finally, continually adapt. Our business is never idle. There'll always be new fields that you want to add, new KPIs you want to capture, and old fields that are just no longer useful. So great principles, thank you for that, but how can I actually improve my existing data or my workflows? And I have 2 real-world tactics that don't necessarily require Claravine that I can walk you through today. First tactic, meet with your stakeholders and visually diagram your workflows. Here, I like to use Miro, but you can also make one massive custom slide in PowerPoint and use those familiar tools to diagram your workflows. Capture what teams create which data and where it goes next. What are the origins, requirements, and handoffs along the way? And confirm the whole flow, not just the easy parts that you understand or the parts that are at the front, but the full life cycle all the way through to analytics and beyond. Make sure you inventory all the fields and their owners along the way. And of course, you're going to have likely more than one flow. And I like this exercise. And as you go through it, you're going to be surprised at how many folks don't realize the entire life cycle of the data, or the reason that certain fields exist. They only know their small piece of the flow. And right away, you may find efficiencies that you can implement, like, or redundancies that you can eliminate. Yeah, so you may find efficiencies or redundancies that you can get rid of. And then at the end, after you've done all this workflow work with all the people and the stakeholders in your team, circle back and show folks what you've diagrammed. This is where you educate and build your consensus for the next step. So tactic 2, once you've captured the workflow and you have an inventory of all the data fields and all their owners, you can use this tactic called card sorting. And this is a tactic that's frequently used in UX design, but also taxonomy design. And there's actually software that helps with this, but I prefer to do it sort of manually with sticky notes kind of away from the computer. So let's walk through it. So every field that you've inventoried in the previous step gets its own sticky note, aka card, and you have some blank stickies left over for write-ins. All the stickies start unsorted at the left, and then you create the following group headers. This field is useful to me. This field is not useful to me. I don't even know what this field is, and data that I wish we captured. And this last column is where folks can use blanks to write in ideas for data that they wish they had. So have folks from every step of the workflow sort these stickies into these groups. And remember, these are opinions. There's no correct answers. You're just trying to get a gauge on how folks are understanding and feeling about the different fields that you currently collect. So rinse and repeat this process for a representative set of stakeholders, from the folks who are hands-on keyboard, like ad ops, to the C-level folks who are trying to make sense of the overall data. And here you absolutely want to include your analytics teams, who are doing the cleanup and dashboarding for you. They're going to have some very valuable insights. And the outcome here really is you're identifying your key fields and areas for improvement. Okay, now that you have this set of outputs, right, you've got an accurate picture of the workflow and all the owners. You've got a field inventory with the creators of those fields, and you've got feedback on all your fields. You can then apply the 4 principles that we talked about earlier, right? And combine, modify, and simplify your flows and your fields, collect only the data that you need, and streamline your workflows and eliminate extra steps. And ultimately, what you want to do is get at that value, right? Better analytics, better return on spend, and less time spent on fixing those data quality issues. In the end, it'll have a huge impact across the people who touch the data, and you'll have greater confidence in the data and less errors. So finally, the plug for Claravine. We really make it easy to standardize your data. We sit at the heart of your flow. We pass data to the right teams at the right time. And our goal really is to relieve you of the data problems that we touched on today. I want to leave you with a few things. We didn't get to it today, but designing your naming conventions is also very important. It's kind of a microcosm of what we discussed. So there's 2 links here. And I've also got a link to Card Sorting 101. If you're interested in learning more about this approach, there's a number of variations on it that you can refine to taste. And that's it. Move on to Q&A.
Thank you so much, Paul. It looks like we did get a few questions in the chat. First question to start is, card sorting sounds straightforward. What pitfalls do people get caught up in when getting started?
Yeah, there are kind of rare situations when you do a card sort, and folks are putting cards into 4 different columns, and basically what you've come up with is mud. It's so evenly, perfectly balanced between all the people that participate that you're not getting a clear insight into what the problem fields are. And if that occurs, there's a couple things you can do. You can change your 4 headings, and decide on a different set of facets you want people to sort into. Or you can sort of question your assumptions, like, am I even asking the right question here? And talk to the stakeholders and ask them, hey, what are the right questions I should be asking of this data? So
taking a step back and really thinking about it.
Yeah.
Another question we got is that this all sounds really great in theory, but how do you implement this and encourage adoption? More specifically, how do you manage change across the entire organization?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think before you dive into a project like this with all your data, you really want to lay the groundwork and probably get an internal champion at a high level. You want to make it into a cross-team initiative, right? So it's not just you sort of trying to force your will on folks, but a team effort. You want folks to kind of buy in and co-define the problem that you're trying to solve, and then that way everyone's sort of rowing in the right direction. So much of this exercise is people and change management. It's not about the data. It's about, who's creating the data, who wants the data, who's handling it, and how does it get to the end without being messed up. So I think the people side is the most important.
Totally. Final question that we have in the chat is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how sexy is taxonomy and data design?
It's about as sexy as stamp collecting, so 1.
Oh,
But
you're gonna give it 11.
to me, it's an 11. I enjoy it. So
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining today's Quick Vine. That is everything that we have for you today, and we will be sure to follow up with an email and a recording and the resources that we shared. If any questions, you can always reach out to us or your Claravine representative. Have a great Tuesday, and that is all. Goodbye.
thank you.